What shall we listen to? I know what we shall listen to. Howdy, I guess I'm live. I don't see. I don't look live. It says I'm live, so I guess I'm going to believe it. Some tunes. Okay, let's see here. Oh, hi, Michelle. Thank you for waiting for me. I'm like 5 minutes late. And you will notice, wait a minute. Can you hear music? Very slightly. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. More for my entertainment than yours. First of all, I want to apologize because I have allergy head and my voice is way down here. It's been glorious. The weather's been gorgeous. I've had the windows open. My husband cleaned the window. Wait a minute here. Oh, I'm going to knock my frickin' thing down. Okay. But look. Look out my beautiful clean windows to my beautiful woods. Aren't they gorgeous? And that's not even out the window without the screen. There's the window without the screen. Yeah. So now let me get myself straight here. I like way goofed it up. Okay. Kinda down. There. Good enough. Oh, I did not light my altar. There. Okay. So anyway, yeah, it's allergy time, big time, and even with Flonase and Sudafed and everything else. Hold on. Oh my God. Kinda. So even with meds and everything, I'm just like, wow, my allergies are kicking my ass. So you'll hear a lot of that. And fortunately, we don't have to worry about a mask. And I'm going to turn the music down a little bit more because I find it's distracting me. At any rate, tonight, in another Step into My Library installment, I'm going to talk about Buddhism, which might seem a strange thing for a witch to be talking about. So the first thing that I want to say is that while paganism and witchcraft are my culture and my religion, my belief system, Buddhism is the bulk of my practice. And those two things do not conflict with each other. Because Buddhism, though it is a religion, and there are many different forms of it, just like different forms of Christianity, it's not like the other religions in that there's a deity that we worship. The Buddha is not an object of worship. The Buddha is an example. Because the basic tenet of Buddhism is that we are all potential Buddhas. We all have the potential to fully awaken. And we look to the Buddha, to the latest Buddha, because there have been many, but we look to Gautama, Siddhartha Buddha, as an example and as a teacher and as a leader and somebody to show us how to get there, how he figured things out and how to get there. So Buddhism, even the Dalai Lama has said Buddhism is mind training. It's not about worship. It's not about, a religion and holidays. And although they do have holidays, they have, Buddha's birthday and Buddha's death date, which I don't know those dates. since it's not like my wheel of the year cosmology, it's not what my year hangs around the pagan wheel. But my daily practice is where Buddhism comes in. So it's mind training. And, basically the Buddha recognized that we all suffer from basically being human. We all suffer from the things, the way that our minds work. And they all work the same way because it's a human brain. This is the way the human brain works. It is constantly wanting and not wanting. It's constantly, I need this. Here's something I need. And I desire, I want. And we can be a slave to that. If you've ever had a craving for chocolate, we're a slave to it. And we're also a slave to aversion, to the pushing away of things. I don't want this. This is happening. Denial of reality and avoidance of reality and denial and all that kind of stuff. So those are the two main kinds of suffering. The third kind is indifference, where we just check out and don't give a fuck. So that's another way to suffer, because then we're numb to life, and we're numb to, to joy and sorrow and the full richness of it. So, and I will say before we go any further that the music you're listening to is Vas, just in case YouTube flags me for it. Offerings is the album. Vas, Vas. I do not own the copyright to this. It's my background shit. So we'll see if they, because they did it once before when I had something going in the background. We'll see. Anyway. So yeah, Buddhism is about how to recognize what your brain is doing, and then to recognize it as that's what my brain is doing. That's not reality. And then all the practices are in, I guess coming home to yourself is a pretty good way to put it, rather than escaping and running away. That's aversion, is the escape and run away. So Buddhism is about learning to stay put. And if you're thinking, most people think of Buddhism in terms of Zen, where there's the sitting meditation, Zazen, where you sit and sit and sit. And, they think about, how incredibly boring that sounds. But it's actually quite a struggle. It's kind of anything but boring, because you come face to face with your mind. And that's the antithesis of boredom. That's like, oh, holy shit, get me out of here. So I'll tell you my background with Buddhism, and I'm turning Vas down even more because it's bugging me. Okay. My first entry was back in 2001, and I had a 2-year-old, and I was homeschooling the then 7-year-old, almost 7-year-old. And I was losing my fucking mind. I hadn't spent any time alone in forever. Oh, no, that's the mother drum story. Never mind. I was doing a workshop. That's right. I was doing a workshop, but my son was 2 at the time. And that's like the same time I had started mother drum several months earlier. So it all centers around that pivotal year. But I was doing a workshop. A friend had a healing center and invited me to do one of these Saturday morning workshops that she did. So I was doing it on altars, and it was a free walk-in kind of thing. And it was in this old house that had several stories. And the third floor, I came in to set up, and there was a flyer that said Green Tara Dance practice. I'm like, what's that? And so the leader of that event came in, and I met her. Her name was Chris. And I said, what are you teaching? What is this Green Tara thing? And she said, she's a Tibetan Buddhist goddess, and she has a mantra, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. And I went, I just taught that at my drum circle last month. We sang it at my drum circle, and I was familiar with the mantra. I'm familiar that it was Green Tara's mantra, but I didn't know anything about Green Tara herself. So that sounded really exciting to me. And I said, if nobody comes to is yours open? If nobody comes to mine, can I come to yours? And she said, sure. So then I was, instead of, I hope people show up, I was like, oh, please nobody come. Please nobody come. So fortunately, nobody came. And that right there is a really good illustration of the nature of reality, the slippery nature of reality, and how we take our opinions of it and our feelings about it, and we call that reality. Initially, it was, I was really hoping for a good turnout. And if you had said nobody's going to come to your workshop, I would have thought that's a bad thing. But then there was something else I wanted to go to instead. And so nobody coming to my workshop turned out to be like one of the best things that ever happened to me. So, you can look at it from one side, you can look at it from the other side. And I frequently tell people when I'm doing readings for them that when you experience a life-changing event, and particularly things like losing a job, or a relationship breaking up, or something that just feels devastating at the time, I've told people, there's going to be a point in time where you look back at what's happening right now and you say, I am so grateful that happened. I would not be where I am now unless that had happened. It's a turning point. And so with Buddhist training, we get away from the labels of good and bad. Things are they just are. They are. And, part of the whole emptiness thing is things being really empty of meaning, empty of inherent meaning. We're the ones that apply meaning to everything. And the meaning that we apply pulls us in one direction of, oh, that's a good thing or that's a bad thing. And then we judge. And then we start generating emotions around it. And then we suffer. Because these emotions are usually, this is great, it's wonderful, I want to hold on to it. Or this is horrible, I don't want this to be happening, go away. So we have a really hard time just sitting still for what's happening. And I will show you my Tara stuff first, because she's what brought me in. And she is a Tibetan Buddhist deity, and the various forms of Buddhism are all really different, in practice. But there are levels. There's Hinayana, there's Mahayana, and there's Vajrayana. So there's like the small way, the middle way, and the fast track. And I ask forgiveness now for anything that I am misstating, misspeaking, or getting flat out wrong, because I am not an expert in Buddhism. So I'm an expert in my experience with it, but I'm not an expert in Buddhism. So I ask forgiveness for anything that I get wrong. But Tibetan Buddhism is considered a Vajrayana practice, which means it's the fast track. It's if you want to get someplace and you start working with Green Tara in particular, she's fast and she's not gentle. So this is a book that I got when I started to practice. I think I bought mine, but then when you do, this friend of mine, Chris, was doing this dance practice, and it was this beautiful, 40-minute, just meditative Tai Chi and I had tears pouring down my face most of the time. It just resonated with me so deeply. And then at the end of that practice, she introduced a couple of dances of universal peace. The first time I was introduced to those dances, and again, tears pouring down my face, because I have an really crystal clear, vivid memory of a dream I had when I was 6 years old. I was standing on the playground in a circle of kids, and I was teaching them a song, and I was teaching them movements, and that's Dances of Universal Peace. So, it was like coming home. It was stunning to me, just amazing. So once a month, she would come up from where she lives and do this Tara dance practice, and it was a great escape from my 2-year-old and my 7-year-old. But I went for better, for other reasons. So this is Green Tara. And in Tibetan Buddhism, it's deity yoga. And so they work with gods and goddesses. But deity yoga in Buddhism isn't worshiping a deity, although it can look like that a lot. What it is about it, and the reverence that you give is to train your mind in the attributes of this deity. So everything in a Tibetan, and I colored this, by the way, it was a black and white image, but every part of her has an attribute to it. And I do not have these memorized. But the ones that really count are her right leg is extended here. Her left leg is pulled in. Her right leg is extended because she's fast. They say that she shows up in the split second before you think of her. So she's fast. These hand gestures, which are called mudras, this one, which is the thumb and third finger, like this, and it's at the heart, is the gesture that wards off fear. So she dispels fear. She gets there before you even think about her. She dispels all your fear, takes it away. And then this gesture, which is the thumb and forefinger together, kind of pointing down. Pointing down, as you see by her knee, pointing at the screen, which you can't see, honest to God. Like I said, allergy head. And that gesture means that she gives you everything you need. So, and this is in her mantra too. Om is the syllable, the universal syllable of creation. It opens the way. Tare is the remover, or is the swift. So Tare, liberator, swift, and courageous. Okay, yes. Tare is the swiftness. Tutare is the remover of fears. Ture is giving you everything you need. Om tare, tutare, ture. Soha means so it is. And closes, kind of closes the door. So her mantra gives her three main attributes of wisdom, compassion, and power. And she's just that in itself is a complete practice. And every morning I do a mala. This is sandalwood mala. It's 108 beads. And they sell malas and half malas and quarter malas too. But I do 108 green Tara mantras on this mala every morning before I turn on my computer and have coffee and all that kind of stuff. So, but other things here, like this flower is called the Nalini flower. It's the blue lotus, and it blooms at night. So they talk about, the enlightenment that can blossom when you're in deepest darkness. That's what the Nalini stands for. Her head tilted to the right, it means she's mastered the power of anger. She has jewels. Usually she has different colored jewels in her crown, and each color means something. Her long hair is her freedom, and the top knot on her head is her enlightened mind, her enlightened activity. Her silks, the jewelry and silks, and I can't remember what they stand for, but the short necklace and the long necklace both have meaning as well. Dressed in silks, she's willing to adorn herself and to be attractive. She's willing to make herself attractive to people so they will come to her. She's seated or sitting. Pick one, not both. She is seated on a lotus and a moon cushion. And I think the lotus is wisdom and the moon cushion is compassion. Could have it backwards. So there's this gorgeous 40-minute dance practice. And here's a connection you'll get. So her name is Tara, right? Green Tara is known as the root Tara. And so there's her. And then she has 21 emanations. Each one of them has a different color and a different mantra and a different pose and different attributes. So where else can you think of has a thing that's sort of like the base, the 0, and then 21 things after it? Something that maybe sounds a little bit like Tara. She is the origin of the tarot. She's the origin of the major arcana of the tarot. So, you've heard all of these things. Oh my God, the woods are gorgeous. It is golden hour. There's a huge pink cloud and everything is going pink in the woods. It's great. I'm not going to disarrange the camera again, but wow, it's pretty. So anyway, you've heard about the origins of tarot, and most of the time you will hear them talk about the Roma culture, who came kind of out of Egypt and crossed, that Eastern Europe where they're crossing back and forth. And so this Tara is the origin of those 21 or 22 of the major arcana, the 0 and then the 21 majors. And as a student of the dances, I went to a workshop down in Atlanta one year that was called Tara and the Tarot, and there is a Brazilian group that does dances of universal peace and does Tara practice, and they made dances for each of the major arcana. And I hold I think less than half of those dances, and they're some of the most powerful dances in my book. They're just fucking amazing. The magician dance will blow your head off, and the high priestess dance will make you cry. So I actually taught the magician dance at Mother Drum one month, and it was just so fabulously powerful. And the next month I said, anybody want to do magician? And there were a couple women that went, no, no. They were scared of it because it was so powerful, but it's amazing. So it says down here, Tara, Divine Mother, whose nature is compassion. When my mind is purified in the water of your praises, I am in supreme bliss. So what that says is you use Tara practice and her praises and her mantra to stop your mind from doing what it does, from chewing on the sock of whatever is happening in your life. Because you'll get caught up. And, you know, if you've ever tried to sit zazen, if you've ever tried to just do sitting meditation, whatever you call it, for just 10 minutes, even 10 minutes, you will see what happens. First of all, what happens is what I call itching, twitching, and bitching. Everything itches, everything hurts, everything, you know, it's like, okay, get yourself settled. And then your brain starts going. So the job in sitting meditation is to breathe and just be there in your body. And watch your mind, but don't follow it. And you will notice that your mind is doing things when all of a sudden it's like you're halfway down the road into your social calendar and it's like, oh shit, I was thinking, and you pull yourself back. And then you sit and you breathe again. And then you catch yourself half asleep, or so it's watching your mind and what it does, and then labeling when the thoughts happen, you just go, okay, that was thinking. So what you're trying to do here is remove judgment. Remember I talked about judging things good and bad is how we suffer? Well, same thing with thoughts. If you're going to beat yourself up every time you catch yourself thinking, you are going to be black and blue for the rest of your life. So when you catch yourself thinking, you don't go, oh, God damn it, I failed. You just go, there's a thought. Wow, look at that. And you let it go. And you can, many, many, many ways to visualize things. They talk about seeing thoughts as clouds. So you have this clear blue sky, that's your clear mind, and then a thought wanders through like a cloud. So when you catch yourself thinking, you just go, oh, there's a cloud, and you just watch it drift. A great visual that you can do to help you when you're meditating, help you still your mind, is to take a glass of water and put some sand in it, or some dirt even, and stir it up. Clear glass so you can see. Stir it up, and you watch it get all muddy. Those are your thoughts going, like your thoughts and the feelings that they generate, and the feelings about the thoughts about those feelings, the feelings about those thoughts, on and on and on. That's kind of like the Wheel of Fortune, round and round and round. And then you just watch the glass, and as the water gets still, everything starts to settle out. And you watch the sand settle out, and you watch whatever else is in there settle out until the water is perfectly clear again. So that is what it's like. That's the practice of meditation. I don't even want to say the goal of meditation, because you don't want to set goals, and then you're setting yourself up for saying you either succeeded or failed. So it's the practice of meditation. Okay, and the music stopped, and I'm going to let it because my iPod just died. Okay, that's okay. So Tara practice, her mantra is a great deal of help to me when I'm in bad anxiety, and particularly in the middle of the night. And I have to say, since the pandemic started, I have not wakened up in anxiety. I mean, I haven't it's been pretty rare lately anyway, because my life is fairly manageable right now. And the major stressors, like the jobs that I was working and things like that, are gone. But, and, my parents are gone. All of that anxiety has lifted, and that's a huge, huge difference. But when it does come get me in the middle of the night, when my kids were in school, oh my God, it was constant. It was constant. And it was constant about just me being a rotten parent. I'm a rotten parent. I'm a rotten parent. I'm not doing what I need to be doing for them. They're going to be, harmed forever. Just all that stupid ass anxiety. And it's not stupid ass. It's a freaking disorder. It's what my brain does. It's Mercury and Virgo. Give me a bone, I will chew it. That's my brain. So, when I wake up with thoughts that won't let me go, or even a song that won't let me go, because this is part of like intrusive thoughts. Okay. It's still playing. I swear to God, my iPod just died. I looked at it, it was down all the way, and it suddenly just came back and started playing again. Okay. Hi. Hi, everybody. That tells me they're here. They're showing up. Hi, everybody. Support me, please, so I don't, like, horribly misspeak about this. At any rate, now what the hell was I saying? Oh, anxiety. when, so that's part of anxiety too, is songs that won't let you go. You know, I mean, we all have that. We all fall prey to earworms, but I mean, I have songs that have been in my head for literally weeks and just won't go away. So mantra is a really great way to unhook that. And in the middle of the night, I'm laying there, I do everything that I can do, and it's not letting go of me. I will reach over and get my mala, and I will start doing mantra. And by the time I'm done, what I'm doing is giving my brain another little sock to chew on. It's repetitive, and it just kind of pulls me away from the intrusive thought to something that is helpful, and then I finally go to sleep. So mantra practice, whether it's Tara, whether it's Om Mani Padme Hum, whether it's we are a circle within a circle with no beginning and never ending, whatever, you know, anything that you chant. I mean, to be culturally appropriate, a mantra is something that belongs in Hinduism and Buddhism and the Eastern religions that use it, and where the word mantra comes from. But anything that is chanted repetitively can give your mind a different direction from where it's tending to go. So anyway, this is my Tara booklet, and I want to give honor to my teacher, Premadasara, who created the Tara dance practice. She was working with a Lama. She was a student of Tibetan Buddhism, and she was working with a Lama, and he was teaching her about Tara. And what you do in deity yoga is you visualize the deity in all of their detail and color in front of you in the sky. And so you're meditating on each one of the attributes, and each of these attributes is getting installed in you with the understanding that this is in me. What I'm trying to do here in meditating on this deity is to uncover all these attributes in me, because they're in me, they live in me. So these deities are not external, although they all have their stories. You know, Tara's story is she was a princess named Yeshe Wisdom Moon. And she attained enlightenment. But there's another, which was an unusual thing in a woman's body. And they said, you know, since you attained enlightenment as a female, which is really a tall feat, you are being granted the gift of being reincarnated as a male next time. And she said, no, thank you. I will come back as a female until all suffering beings are saved. That's a bodhisattva, one that vows to put off their own enlightenment and to keep returning in order to save the other suffering beings. So the other story about her, that Chenrezig, who's the Lord of Compassion, in Hinduism, he's called Avalokiteshvara. But Chenrezig, Chenrezig, Chenrezig. And his job was to save all the suffering beings every day. So he would get up in the morning and save all the suffering beings all day long. And then he'd go to bed at night and he'd wake up the next morning and the suffering beings were back. And so this went on and on. You know, he just, every day he would save all of the suffering beings. And then he would get up the next day and there's all these suffering beings again. Probably all the same ones that he just saved. And finally, after, God knows, probably, you know, thousands of years of this, he broke down. He just completely lost it, broke down and wept because he gave up hope of ever saving the suffering beings. And as he was weeping, a tear splashed down, and out of that tear arose Tara. And she said, don't worry about it. I got this. And then she took over taking care of the suffering beings. The other Tara story I will tell you is that somebody asked the Dalai Lama, who, by the way, has blessed this Tara dance practice. It's been performed for him, and he has blessed it as a true vehicle of transmission of enlightenment. That's big. But somebody asked him about this business in Buddhism of only men being able to achieve enlightenment. And, what's up with that? And he said, no, Tara changed all that. So he is not down with only men achieving enlightenment. So anyway, Premadasara, extraordinary teacher, Tara Datu, T-A-R. Here, wait, I'm going to put this in the comments here. So I have to sign in. Are you kidding me? Okay, I can't do that there. Okay, I can't sign into chat. And, what's up? I can't sign into chat from my Streamlabs. Okay, never mind. All right, so I'm really confused. Hold up here. I'm going to pop out the chat and see what happens. Okay, there we go. taradatu.org. You can actually get DVDs of the short practice. The 40-minute one is like the short practice, and then there's a big long one that's a full mandala. But taradatu.org is where you can go if you're interested in finding out more about the practice of green Tara, white Tara, all of the Taras, and about Tibetan Buddhist practice as taught by my teacher Premadasara. So blessings to her, absolute blessings to her. She's amazing. So that's Tara in a nutshell. I could spend all of my time there, but I'm not going to. I think I will show you like the other books on Tibetan Buddhism that I have. The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. This is amazing. Nobody has studied death like the Tibetans have. They down to the phases, like when a person is preparing to die and what happens to the energies and which energy goes first. And I mean, it's incredibly detailed and incredibly valid. And it's all in this book by Sogyal Rinpoche, and it's very, very, very worth reading. If you want to prepare yourself for dying a good death, if you don't want to be surprised. And somebody has said that Tibetan Buddhism is all about preparing to die, and to die without taking any crap with you, because the belief system in Buddhism is in reincarnation, alike pagans, and most pagans and witches believe in reincarnation as well. I think it's only a recent thing of people not believing in reincarnation, because it's just a fact of life, Energy recycles. That's all there is to it. So, but in Buddhism, there's transmigration. You can be born as a lower being or a higher being, depending on your karma. And karma is just action. Karma is action that you take and the reaction that happens from it. So I guess the karma would actually be the reaction. It's, what energies have you set in motion that then circle back to you? Okay, Michelle, let's see here. TNR, you do TNR, Michelle. Oh, bless you. Bless you, sweetheart. So you totally would vibe with green Tara and Chenrezig. So, I mean, Tara would be a great deity to call on for you. She's just, she really does get it done. I'm trying to get my face a little brighter here. That's a little too bright. And that's way bad. Okay. Maybe. We'll try that. Okay. So I am so happy to hear that you do TNR. I actually researched that for a while because I was so interested in, I'm a cat person, and in saving cats, and I just didn't have the wherewithal to do it. I am actually on a Facebook group called the Weirdo Cat Lovers of Cleveland, but there are people from all over the world in that group, and they are TNR cat supporters, rescuers. You would love that group. So here, I'll drop it down here too. La la la. Okay, so check that out, Michelle, because I think you'd dig them. So anyway, there's Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. I think I might have short-circuited myself. Maybe I'll get back on. Maybe I won't. But so this is Preparing to Die a Good Death. And I am not putting my Dharma books on the floor. So in Buddhism, I feel like when you're doing practicing a particular system, you really do need to step into that system and follow its rules. So when I'm looking at Tibetan practice and my books and things, none of these will ever touch the floor. If I'm doing ritual and I want to read something, I'm sitting on the floor, I will put silk on the floor first and set it on top of the silk. So what does this do? It puts your mind on alert that something special happens when I go to these books. And your deep mind, it's symbolic. Your deep mind and your right brain pays attention to symbolism. It pays attention to visuals. So when I see these things and I go, they're not going on the floor, my deep brain goes, it resonates. Okay. Tara, the Feminine Divine by Bokar Rinpoche. And these are all Tibetan lamas that wrote these books, so the writing can be a little bit dense sometimes, but I found this one in particular very, very easy to read. In Praise of Tara, this is like detailed stuff about her mandala and her praises, and she has, in addition to the mantra and then the 21 other mantras, she has a verse that goes with each of her emanations, and there's this whole, like the full prayer is praying through all those 22 verses. Introduction to Tantra by Lama Yeshe is all about, and Tantra, everybody thinks it's sex, that Tantra is sex. So there certainly is, there is that is there. But the Tantra that I learned through the Tara practice, Tantra is just the fast track. Tantra says that there is nothing is a waste. So Tantra pulls you away from looking at anything as a failure. I did this and I failed. I took this action and, it didn't, I wasn't good at it or whatever. And that it was a waste. It was all a waste. Or if you get angry, trying to keep yourself from being angry because, I'm supposed to be peaceful, I shouldn't be angry. Well, first of all, that's aversion there. I shouldn't be angry and pushing it away. But the fact is there's a lot of energy in anger, and Tantra is about the transformation of energy, whether it's sexual energy or the energy of anger, the energy of desire, the energy of confusion, whatever it is, it's available energy, and tantric practitioners use every bit of available energy toward their own enlightenment. And then another of the hallmarks of practice here is whatever work you do, whatever practice you do, at the end you dedicate it to everybody else. You give it all away. I keep none of this for myself. I give it away. May this benefit everybody else. So that's kind of bodhisattva practice as well. This is the book, Dancing Tara, A Manual of Practice, How to Live the Dream by Prema Dasara. This is mostly for people that have that are students of that particular practice, students of the practice that she has created, and who really want to in-depth learn more about it. But like I said, if you go on and you can order the DVD, and it's amazing. Okay, moving on to some other ones here, and I will go to other Tibetan Buddhism. Let me put these on the bed. Look out! Look out! Okay. Second set, I'm going to move these over here because I'm going to do this set second, because this is also Tibetan Buddhism. Not that, but this. This by far is my favorite author. I mean, my teacher will always be number one, and the Tara practice will always be number one. But for day-to-day practice and just dealing with the shit of human life, this is it. Pema Chodron. I cannot tell you how many times I recommend Pema Chodron to people. And this is number one right there, When Things Fall Apart. If you are human and you go through bad times, get this book. Let's just say if you are human, get this book. She is so down to earth. And she is a monk. She's a Tibetan monk. She was is she a lama? I think she's a lama. But she was the head of Gampo Abbey. And then there was a scandal I think it was just over the past year where she stepped down, but then she came back. There was some things that she wasn't down with. Somebody higher up was accused of some sexual misconduct, and she didn't approve of the way it was handled by the organization, and so she said she couldn't be the leader anymore. But I think they were trying to mend stuff. Anyway, when things fall apart, she's very down to earth. Her language is very plain. She's so humble. She talks about, the times she's suffered. And she talks about an incident in her life when she was married and living, I think they must have been living somewhere like out in the desert, New Mexico or Arizona or something. And she said it was this absolutely beautiful day, and she's sitting out on the porch, and she was drinking a cup of tea and seeing the steam rise in the mountains, and she's talking about just how gorgeous it was. And her husband came in, pulled in the driveway, got out of the car, and told her he wanted a divorce. He was having an affair and he wanted a divorce. And so she picked up a rock and threw it at him. But she said she goes back to that moment because she talks about how it just stopped her mind. And she can remember everything about that moment. She can remember the steam coming up from the cup and the mountains, and everything was just like, poof, and she talks about when life nails you. Those moments we have where all of a sudden it's just like shock. We're shocked and stunned, and the brain can't grab onto anything, so it just stops moving. And in those moments, how clear everything gets. Everything around us, the way things smell, the way the colors, everything gets very, very clear. So we do get little glimpses of the mind stopping, but it doesn't happen very often. It takes, extremity for it to happen like that. So practice is about getting it to stop through practice rather than going through these tremendous life shocks. That one is my number one. The places that scare you is a close second. Things like this, Awakening Loving Kindness, where it's just, and you see, her books. This one I don't have a lot of markers in because my sister had it for a while, but you see this one of hers, Living Beautifully. It's just full of little markers. I just had an avalanche here. There. Okay. So, I'm constantly marking things in her books because they just ring my bell so hard. So anyway, When Things Fall Apart, I absolutely get that book. No questions asked, just get it. So one of the things I want to say here too is that there is no conflict in being a Buddhist witch, a Zen witch, a Buddhist Christian. There are Christian and Catholic priests that practice Buddhism because it's mind training and it makes you a more enlightened person. It makes you more fully a human being. And it's not about the way some people think with Buddhism, it's about escaping suffering. No, that's one of the forms of suffering. It's about being fully here. So those Living Beautifully, Comfortable with Uncertainty. This one is like just a little daily readings. I have this set called the Compassion Box, and I don't consider this in my decks, although I probably should because it can be used as a divinatory tool. But there's a practice called Lojong, the Lojong teachings, and they're just these slogans. They call them slogans. For example, four practices are the best of methods, and what it means, the four practices are accumulating merit, laying down evil deeds, offering to the dawns. So it says by welcoming mishaps because they wake you up, and offering to the Dharmapalas by expressing your gratitude to those who protected you, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, these are all slogans, and then they have them explained on the back. Okay, this is an easier one to explain. Always maintain only a joyful mind. What does that mean? You're never angry, you never feel sad. It didn't say emotions, it said a joyful mind. Constantly apply cheerfulness if for no other reason than because you are on the spiritual path. Have a sense of gratitude to everything, even difficult emotions, because of their potential to wake you up. There it is. Difficult emotions can shock you into seeing what's real, into seeing through the crap that we lay on every day, So Start Where You Are is one of her most well-known books, and you can get this book all on its own. I keep seeing this here. That's me with my hennaed hair. I use those for bookmarks now. But But yeah, Start Where You Are is another excellent, excellent book that draws on the Lojong teachings, but I would recommend When Things Fall Apart. Okay. Then we have this stack, and this isn't just one author. So this guy, Brad Warner, Hardcore Zen, and he has several books. I grabbed this one and then started reading about who he was, and he actually lived in my town, like right down the road from where I live. There's a house that is still called the Zendo and has been since probably back in the 60s or 70s. And it was just a rotating group of people in and out, moving in and out of that place. And they did Zen practice in that house. And then he went on, so he lived in that house, and then he went on to move to Japan and work making monster movies. And he was in a punk rock band in Akron, Ohio. And it's just a very amusing book, but he's a really good teacher as well. He has a YouTube channel, Brad Warner, look him up. Byron Katie also has a YouTube channel. I think, well, her website is called The Work, I believe. But I don't know about YouTube channel. Just search Byron Katie. She's amazing. She's an amazing woman. She was horribly depressed, like chronically horribly depressed, to the point where she said she wouldn't get out of her bed for 2 weeks or brush her teeth or anything. She was just at the pit. And this one day she was literally lying on the floor. She was so depressed, she felt she didn't even deserve to get in the bed, so she was lying on the floor. And an ant walked across her hand, and she watched that ant walk across her hand, and suddenly it was like she got it, and the depression fell away. She saw it for, the big story that she was telling herself, or, just the habit that she'd been in. And she woke up, and she does this thing called The Work, where she has like workshops with all these people, and you do a sheet where you put down like your favorite judgment of something that you're really struggling with, or a person you're really struggling with, and write down your judgment. This person really needs to blah, 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 blah. And the first question is that true? And so then you're like, well, most of the things go poof when you just ask, is that true? And it's like, well, maybe not. Or if you say, well, yes, it absolutely is true. They're a horrible person. They're doing blah, blah, blah. And then the next question is, can you be absolutely 100% certain that that is true? And that answer is always no, because you can never be 100% certain of somebody else's truth. And then the third question is, who are you? How do you feel when you have that thought? Fourth question is, who would you be without that thought? So it's just identifying where our thoughts take us and where our judgments take us. And it's amazing to watch her videos and how she works with people, because these people will stand up with these incredible stories, and she takes them through this, and some of these people are determined that I am the one that's going to bust her this time because I am right. I'm right, they're wrong, and it's true, and whatever. And she will take them through these questions, and you just watch these people, their things just go poof. I mean, it's just a radical mind shift. 1,000 Names for Joy. The book itself didn't really ring my bell too much. I mean, there's a lot of scripts in here of her working with people, and I think those are the most entertaining. But she is certainly someone. I like to give you a range, because certain people will vibe with certain other people, and some people might not like Pema Chodron, but they might like Byron Katie. So there's her. Now this last stack is Thich Nhat Hanh, who is, he's still here. He had a major stroke several years ago, and he's still here with us. But he was a Buddhist monk from, obviously, a Vietnamese monk is what I meant to say there. He's from Vietnam. And he went through the Vietnam War, and he watched all of that happen. And sorry, I'm looking at my screen here. And to deal, with that kind of suffering, is why he became a monk. And his practice and his teaching are just so calm and so peaceful and so simple. And really, Buddhism, with all the window dressing, and Tibetan Buddhism can get pretty stacked with detail and complication. But at the heart of Buddhism is very, very simple teachings. The four noble truths. Hold on. Let me find them so I don't misstate them. I thought they were in here. I'm looking for the Four Noble Truths. Okay. And there's all that. And there's all that. They might not actually be in here. Okay, those are the four thoughts that turn the mind. But the Noble Truths are like suffering exists. There's a cause of it. All right, hold on, because I don't want to make an idiot of myself here, which, too late. All right, I'm going to look this up real quick. And I know these are in Pema Chodron too, but I'm not going to waste my time. Okay, the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, the truth of the path. Okay, so the first noble truth is that suffering exists. The second noble truth is that there's a cause for it. The third noble truth is there is a way to end it. There is an end to it. And then the path is the fourth noble truth, that there's a path to end it. So anyway, here's Thich Nhat Hanh. Oh, Miyavi. I'll tell you about Miyavi sometime. This is an anthology. His books like this are the most amazing ones. I don't have my one on... it's called No Death, No Fear. If you do, and in a pandemic time, no death, no fear. I mean, he will make your concepts of death and loss just go poof. But the book on fear, Peace is Every Breath, this book on anger. I mean, he really just so gently takes you through kind of looking at what exactly is happening, and just takes you through them so simply and so easily. So like here are the 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. I cannot escape growing old. So he says 5 remembrances are: I am of the nature to grow old. I cannot escape growing old. 2, I am of the nature to have ill health. I cannot escape having ill health. These are the things that the Buddha, when he was Prince Siddhartha and his father protected him from all... He didn't see anybody that was old or sick or ugly. He just had perfection around him at all times and hadn't witnessed any of the real world. So he busted out of the palace one day and went out into the city, and he saw all this suffering. He saw people that were sick. He saw people that were dying. He saw all of the awful things that happened to people. So I am of the nature to die. I cannot escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There's no way to escape being separated from them. And 5, I inherit the results of my acts of body, speech, and mind. My actions are my continuation. That's karma. So what the Buddha noticed is that everybody gets old and everybody gets sick and everybody dies. And the reality of it is, the reality that we're really constantly trying to escape is the reality that everything changes and that we're all going to die. And so, like I said, Tibetan Buddhism is about dealing with the reality of the fact that I'm going to die, and how do I do this in the best way possible with the most enlightened energy possible. Zen Buddhism is the same way. It's just a different track to it. You get there through sitting, and not mantra and, those practices. So he is a Zen monk, but there are Zen practices like walking. There's a walking practice. There's sitting practice. Japanese tea ceremony that I studied is a Zen practice. In fact, it's considered the highest form of martial art. Think about that. But it was done when tea ceremony became a thing. They would go out onto the battlefields and do tea with the warriors to bring peace. But tea ceremony is a Zen practice, and it's the practice of just being absorbed in each moment. They say ichigo ichie, which means this moment will never happen again. Every moment you go through, you will never encounter that same set of circumstances again, ever. ever, ever, ever. So it's this appreciation of this fleeting moment while we're constantly trying to think about the next moment, the thing that we're after down the road, and we're not here. And, how many years, how many decades in our culture have we heard about the, stop and smell the roses, and this acknowledgement of the Western mind that we're just too far ahead of ourselves all the time, and we're losing peace. We have mental illness because of it, and we're losing our inner peace. And so the acknowledgement that we need to be in this present moment, and that's what Zen Buddhism is about, is really coming to terms with being in the present moment, coming to terms with our fear of death and our fear of everything changing. And that's what it's about. And so these Thich Nhat Hanh, Pema Chodron, Byron Katie, I would say those are the big three. Check them out if you are interested. And then I'm trying to think if I guess I have some stories. When I was studying tea ceremony, I studied with my sensei, who is a monk, and she's an American woman, but she was trained and ordained as a monk in Soto Zen. And she would have these, she had her sister taught karate, they both taught karate. And in the back of the dojo was the Zendo. And you'd go down this hallway, and she had it all decorated, it was just beautiful. And then into the Zendo itself, where things were set up the way they are in a Buddhist Zendo, in a Zendo. That's what it is. And the altar and the cushions for sitting. And we also did, I took calligraphy there. So there's all kinds of Zen practices. And then next to that was the tea room, where we did tea ceremony. And she would do several times a year these sesshin. And a sesshin is like a meditation retreat. We would have to get there by 4:30 in the morning, or we started at 4:30 in the morning. We had to be there before that. And it was incredible. It was an incredibly difficult process. You would get there, and we'd usually have a cup of tea or something first, go to the bathroom, and then you go in and you'd sit, and the sitting would start, and there was this clacky thing that called you in. You would go and sit, and in Soto Zen you sit facing the wall because you're turning away from the outer world to help still your mind. Sit facing the wall on the cushions, and the flat cushion, and then the donut, the zabuton and the zafu, or what they're called. And the first session would be like 50 minutes, and you're sitting for 50 minutes, and your legs are banging, and your brain is jumping, and you're tired, and you're falling asleep. And I'm here to tell you, you can fall asleep with your eyes open sitting up. And then there would be a bell, and then there would be 10 minutes of what's called kinhin, which is walking meditation. And in kinhin, you can see my hand over here. She did hers very slowly. I've seen other people that do it fast, but it's just you are paying attention to every part of your foot coming down onto the floor. And slowly, slowly, slowly. And then as soon as, the toes would get there, then, the next foot goes. And it's just that feeling every part of your foot as it comes in contact with the floor. And you had to hold, I can't remember which fist, whether it was the right or the left one, against kind of your solar plexus and cover it with your other hand while you were walking. And then it was back to the cushions, and no talking through all of this, back to the cushions, and we'd do another 40-minute session. And then there was anything from 30 to an hour were the sessions. And I think there were 5 sits in a sesshin. And in the middle of the third one, second or third one, she would ring a bell in the middle of it, and then come and bring a cup of scalding hot ginger tea, super strong ginger tea. And you held your cup like this, and she poured, and you just kind of bow, again, no talking. Drinking this, the talk about waking you up, that would definitely get you going again. Then you'd go back in, finish that sit, kinhin, do another sit, and then we'd do breakfast. And breakfast was a kaiseki, which is a ritual meal, and everything. She would bring out these boards that you sat down in front of you, and that's your table. And then I just can't even express to you the detail. If you've ever experienced anything Japanese like tea ceremony or something, you might have an idea. Everything is choreographed. Where your bowls sit, the way you pull your utensils out of your napkin, the way the napkin is folded, where the napkin sits, how you put it on your lap, how you wipe your mouth, how you ask for more of something. Like when she comes around, we'd have vegetables, we'd have oatmeal, we'd have I can't remember what else, but like when she came around with the oats, some fruit and stuff, she came around with that. If you wanted more, you held your bowl up and you held your hand like this. And when you've had enough, you just do this with your hand. And that says, don't give me any more. But every single thing is choreographed. The hardest sit of the whole morning is the one right after breakfast, because you're really tired and the sun's up and you've just had breakfast and you want to sleep so bad, but you got to sit. So you find, however, and I mean, this is where you seriously confront yourself. You really do confront whatever shit is going on in your mind, and you are in full on battle with your brain sitting on that cushion. And then when we would finish, we would do the Soto Zen church ceremony. We would chant the Heart Sutra in Japanese. And the Heart Sutra is all about emptiness. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form, that whole Buddhist liturgy thing. So we would do the Heart Sutra and do all these prayers and things, and it was great because it's like bells and gongs and wood blocks and shit, and just really great and atmospheric. And then when we would finish, we would go in and do tea ceremony. So it was really something and very difficult to do. And she doesn't do them now. She lost her hearing a few years ago, and I stopped studying tea back in 2013, I think. So it's been, a long bunch of years since I've been in it. And I've thought many times about doing it again, but I don't know if my back would let me do it because you sit on your knees the whole time. So, Seiza is that's called, Seiza. You sit Seiza on your knees. When I first went to tea ceremony, I could not sit on my knees. When I did, I was leaning forward. I couldn't straighten up because everything was so tight. And in tea ceremony, you've got to, at the end of it, when you're the host and you've been sitting on your knees for at least an hour, you've got to be able to pick up utensils. So sometimes priceless chowans, the tea bowls and these other things, you got to be able to pick those up in your hands, get your toes underneath you, and stand up in one movement. I could not even approach that now. I could do it kind of awkwardly for a while there. But to be able to do that, and you watch these Japanese women, they just, your feet are flat while you're sitting on your knees. And so you kind of get your toes bent underneath you, and then you have to pull your knees up and stand. And it takes an rock hard abs and a rock hard ass to get yourself up off the ground like that. So anyway, that's my experience with Zen, and it's amazing. I love tea ceremony. It's an exquisite art form. And I will leave you with my tea sensei had a print above her kitchen sink, and it said, "The secret to happiness lies in taking an intense interest in the details of everyday life and elevating them to an art form." And I mean, if you just think about that for a while, and just think about it and give it a try, an intense interest in the details of everyday life. Usually when we're doing things like brushing our teeth or washing the dishes or those everyday things, chopping wood and carrying water. How many times have you heard that in reference to Buddhism? When you're doing those mindless things where your mind goes on these places and you are so ripe to suffer, in judgments, you take an intense interest in those details and wash that dish. Look at it. Feel the water. Feel the sponge. Look at the bubbles. Watch it getting clean. Feel the water flowing over it. All those things. And then what the Japanese have done, raising them to an art form. So the way that you pick up the tea bowl, the way, the little flourishes that you do, the way that you bow, everything is just exquisitely done and as mindfully done as you can possibly do. So anyway, good shit there. A couple other things here that I don't know whether I'll ever do these in my deck unboxings. This is a Tibetan Buddhism deck, and it's just the gods and goddesses. There's white Tara. So white Tara is an emanation of green Tara. The two that you hear most often about are green Tara and white Tara, at least for me. Green Tara is the root Tara. White Tara is the mother of the Buddhas. She is the goddess of compassion, like Kuan Yin. So here are her attributes. She embodies the feminine aspect of compassion. Her 7 eyes, 3 on her face, 1 on the palm of each hand, and 1 on the sole of each foot, symbolize the vigilance of her compassion. So she sees everybody. Seated in a posture of meditation, she holds her right hand in a gesture of supreme generosity. In her left hand, she holds the lotus of compassion. It's said that Tara was born on a lotus floating in the lake of one of Avalokiteshvara's compassionate tears. She arose in order to help him with his work and represents the vow to be enlightened in a woman's body. So there you go. But anyway, this just goes through a lot of Tibetan Buddhist deities. I'm not going to go through them all. And then this, the Buddha cards. These are just, this is so Buddhist, it ain't even funny. Little lotus on the back. There is a little book, but the book just talks about suggestions and, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, it's just suggestions on working with the deck and meditating with it and how to use it. But then each one is just naming something, transformation. And it gives you the Sanskrit word too. Desire, vow, bliss, mindfulness, education, action. So karma is action. And Tibetan, so Tara's mantra that ends with Soha, that's Tibetan. In Indian and in Sanskrit, they say Svaha. You might have heard that. So anyway, these are just, Buddha cards, other Buddha things that I have. Now, I want to show you something else. A little bit of a reading here from Symbolon. And I saved it. I did this the other night and I saved it. It's much more effective when I do them live, but what the fuck. Because I'm getting ready to get off of here. My throat is very dry and my voice is getting lower. See? Do you see how low that is? Paging Mr. Herman. Okay, so Symbolon I have reviewed before. It's a deck that's astrologically based, and the readings, you can either do 1 card or 3 card. And with the 3 card, each card in here has a meaning for each of the 3 positions. So I did this reading and I asked, as I have been asking my decks, tell me about the U.S. Tell me about this president. Tell me about our government and how we are. How are we doing here in the U.S., not personal? And here are the 3 that I took. Whoops, that wasn't the first one. The first one was this one. That was the second one. That was the third one. And I swear to God, I did not go through and look these and find them. I would have to look through, I think there's 78 cards in the deck. And times 3, I would have to read through everyone and, pick them out. And boy, did I not do that. So the only thing is these are really hard to look up. Okay, so this first card is Fortuna, and the first position is the problem. It says, you suffer from a serious lack of trust deep within you. So think about the American people here. I asked about the U.S., I asked about us, the American people and our government, what's going on. So you suffer from a serious lack of trust deep within you. Yes, we don't trust our government anymore. You have lost your optimism and don't trust your own insights anymore. Our government does not listen to its own experts. Your ego no longer heeds the omnipresent inner healer. The bridge to religio has been destroyed, and religio means reconnection. The bridge to connection has been destroyed, so we're no longer connected to our government. The process could lead to megalomania, as a megalomaniac sits in the White House. So that was the first one that made me go, okay, we're on tonight. We're showing up. The second one is called Moira, and as a way through the problem, it says you now have to struggle with an inner choice. And I was particularly thinking about COVID here. And, it was talking about lack of trust. So we're not trusting other people. We're not trusting our experts. We're not trusting the government. And we've got a megalomaniac. So the way through the problem, you now have to struggle with an inner choice. There are two ways of tackling the current problem. And the first thing I thought of was wear a mask or don't wear a mask. One involves reconciling yourself to the conditions of life, i.e. acceptance. Accept that the virus is here and things have changed. And that there are some things that are just going to be in place from now on. The other suggests rejection and becoming hard. You could miss a chance to forgive yourself or someone else or your destiny. The forces of wisdom and bitterness are fighting for control of your soul, and that's it. That's just the soul of America. Wisdom and bitterness. I mean, we've got this whole group of people in this country that are just pissed off about being white and privileged. They're just pissed off about it. And, I think that a lot of people, I think they're privileged because they're white, but they're really not. And they should be pissed off at the government and what the Republicans have done, but they're not, because those people are white too. And those are who I vote for. So, there's this struggle of the people that want to move things forward. Those of us that are looking towards wisdom and enlightenment and eco-friendly stuff and, evolving as human beings. And then we've got Devo. Okay. And not the band, the devolution, the ones they were singing about. The devolved. Okay. Then the last one is, which one is it? Hold on, I got to look him up again. So you have to go in the back of this book and look at these little black and white images and then see the page. So I put these things at the top, the title of the card and the symbols, so it's a little bit easier to find them. Okay, depression. So the outcome. You have been through hard times and now see light at the end of the tunnel. Old structures have been transformed by a slow, prolonged life process. A new lease on life now awaits you, apparently born from nothing. So, I mean, what's this saying? It's just so right on. We've been through hard times. We can now see a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are starting to loosen up. I mean, we're way too soon. We are way too soon on this, and we're going to regret it. That's what I got. That's what I have to say about that. But old structures have been transformed by a slow, prolonged life process. That's the one that says that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't going to be here anytime soon, that we're not going to get to the end of the tunnel for a long time. This is a prolonged process. But there's a new lease on life, which means that we get a second chance. If we do this right, we get a second chance. And right here, I want to say that I am thinking about all the people who didn't get a second chance. I mean, we're closing in on 100,000 in this country. 100,000, the vast majority of which were needless deaths, and that are on this president's hands because he chose to do nothing. And now he's cooking up this bull fucking shit about the Obama administration. Oh, Obamagate, you know what it is. That is gaslighting 101. And I mean, he's gaslighting the country, trying to deflect and say it's Obama's fault. That's gaslighting, folks. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I got a bang out of it. And I'm going to get going here because my voice is wearing out. And I was trying to see how many are even on this live stream. There's 2 of you. Hi, all 2 of you. Thanks for showing up. Thank God these things get recorded and go onto the channel for good and forever, because I don't like things to be lost. I cling to them. That's attraction. Attachment and aversion. Okay. So anyway, I'm not sure what I'll talk about next week. I think I'll probably move on from library stuff and start bringing in some other things to talk about. Maybe I'll pick just a particular book and go more in depth into it. Maybe we'll do a guided meditation. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll do a grounding meditation next week and take you through that whole thing. Because I keep wanting to make a recording that's just a grounding meditation with the ocean in the background, like my other meditations, and I keep not doing it. So maybe we can do one in real time, and then I'll make a better recording another time. Anyway, I'm really, really glad you guys hung out with me. I'm turning my thing on to see how it has caught up with me. If it has caught up with me. Okay. It's been great hanging out with you again. Michelle, so many blessings to you, dear, on your TNR work. And, you know, all the kitty gods are looking down on you, blessing. Oh, by the way, I got 3 new decks. One of them was from my nurse friend who, oh, hi, Lisa. Thanks for checking in. But my nurse friend that I've made all the masks for got me Pagan Ways Tarot, or Pagan Way. I can't remember if it's got an S on it. And then I got Cat Tarot, and I got one called Barbieri's Cat Oracle. So I think after I'm done with Lucy Cavendish and my fairies, all of my fairies, I will go on to all of my cat decks. So you can look forward to that. At any rate, I will see you on Friday. Friday is New Moon. Shit, that's what I should have talked about tonight. You got a minute? Let me take a real quick look at this chart here. Come on. Open the program. Here we go. I don't think I'll fuck around with getting the chart up on the screen for you because it's just too much of a hassle. Sorry. Lunar phase. Okay, new moon. Let's see what we got here. Okay. We have an exact Venus-Mercury conjunction, which is not that unusual. They're never more than like 60, 90 degrees from each other. So they conjunct fairly often, but still this is an exact conjunction in Gemini. Mercury is direct. However, June 1st, I will warn you about this too. June 1st, we go into the shadow of the next retro. All right, take a look here. Mercury-Venus conjunction is our desires and our affection exactly working in conjunction with Mercury. So it'd be very easy to express loving thoughts, very easy to appreciate beauty, but communication is key because that's in Gemini. So to communicate in a pleasing way, to communicate about beauty. Venus is retrograde, so it's could be a little awkward, but anyway. Let me see what other aspects we have here. We've got it squaring Mars. So Mars squaring the new moon, and it's 4 degrees. So by transit, that's a little wide. Usually we only give 2 degrees on transit. Still, Mars squaring a new moon is going to make you really fucking itchy inside. And with the new moon in Gemini, it's at 2 degrees of Gemini. Just expect your mind to be going berserk. And Mars is in Pisces, so it will be very, very easy to like get emotionally caught up in fiction, in things that are just not really going on. And Mars in Pisces can also be like aggressively pursuing escape, trying to get the fuck out of Dodge in a big, big way. Okay, so new moon in Gemini, what it's really good for is to start any kind of communication, start any kind of legal process, get all your communicating done. Anything that you want to kick off as far as logistics, scheduling, do it between that new moon on Friday and June 1st. I mean, you can still do scheduling and things when we're in the shadow of a retro. Mercury actually turns not until the 19th. So you've got until then to handle things, but I would launch any kind of communicative thing that you need to do. So if it's anything legal or just signing up for something, scheduling something, anything logistical like that is a great thing to do on a Gemini new moon. Spell work on that new moon, make sure it's verbal. Make sure there are words to it with the Gemini new moon. Like a Taurus new moon, you would want things that are tactile, that you can feel. You would want to move your body. And I always move my body anyway. But with a Gemini new moon, words are particularly effective. We also have Neptune in Pisces that is squaring that Mercury-Venus conjunction. So it could be very, very easy to go overboard with any kind of escapist anything, drugs, alcohol, whatever. So just be on your guard. With Mercury squaring Neptune, it's going to be hard to think clearly. and very easy to, again, get caught up in fiction and your sort of fictional ideas. So just remember, when you're having thoughts about things, great, as an ender of all this Buddhist stuff, when you're having thoughts about what's going on and you're making judgments, just remember it's not real. Neptune is a fog. Neptune is, things will evaporate. Okay. I'm going to let it go at that and let you go at that. Come on, go away now. Oh, no, I don't want that. No, you go away. Now I can see you again. Meow. Yes, Michelle, you would really like that, because I'm going to be looking at all my kitty decks. I have reviewed the Medieval Cat deck and the Cat's Eye Tarot, which is done by a veterinarian. So, Michelle, if you haven't looked at that deck, look at it, because it's really, really sweet. You can tell it's done by somebody that is intimately familiar with cats and their ways. Anyhow, good hanging out with you guys again. Hit me up, whatever. I'm out of thoughts. My mind has stopped. Okay, good to hang out with you. I will see you on Friday for another unboxing. I will see you on Monday for another unboxing. I will see you next Wednesday for another live stream at 8:30. I love you guys. Take care. This is the Zen Witch. Blessed be.